As the moon dipped below the treetops, casting Silverpine Forest in an eerie twilight, Ira Shadowleaf stirred from her vigil. She had been watching the Forsaken outposts for weeks, ever since the first whispers of trouble began to spread through the Night Elf grapevine. Now, as she gazed out at the forest's dark silhouette, she sensed a change. The air was heavy with an otherworldly presence, like the quiet before a storm. Ira's keen senses picked up on the subtlest disturbances in the balance of nature. She had spent centuries honing her abilities, and it was this very sensitivity that made her a formidable sentinel of the Night Elves. Her instincts told her something was amiss, and she would not rest until she discovered what was happening. As she approached the nearest outpost, Ira noticed an unsettling silence. The Forsaken gods were usually loud-mouthed and rowdy, but tonight they stood quiet and still, their eyes glazed over as if under some sort of mesmerizing spell. She drew her daggers, prepared for the worst, and slipped into the shadows to investigate. What she found was a scene from a nightmare. The outpost walls were breached, the entrance clogged with the lifeless bodies of Forsaken and humans alike. But it was not the carnage that left Ira feeling uneasy, it was the unnatural fog that surrounded her. The air seemed to writhe and twist like living tendrils, as if something ancient and malevolent had awakened deep beneath the earth. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the misty veil. He was a Forsaken alchemist, his face a deathly pale, his eyes sunken with a hunger for knowledge that bordered on obsession. Ira recognized him. His name was Thane, once a respected member of the Argent Crusade before he succumbed to the curse on death. Thane's gaze locked onto hers, and for an instant, they shared a spark of understanding. Then, as if recalling his undead nature, his eyes turned cold and calculating. "You're too late," he whispered, his voice like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "The breach is already made." Ira drew closer, her daggers at the ready. "What have you unleashed?" Thane's smile was a macabre thing. Something ancient. Something that has stirred the sleeping dead and awakened the whispers of the past. He paused, his eyes glinting with an unholy light. "You see, I've been searching for the source of this Arcane Miasma, the very essence of the forgotten Highborne magic. And now, with the vault breach, the consequences will be catastrophic if we don't act quickly." The Night Elf Sentinel narrowed her eyes. She had faced many foes in her centuries-long life, but Thane's words sent a shiver down her spine. "What do you propose we do?" Thane's gaze turned calculating once more. "We must infiltrate the sunken ruins and seal the breach before the Arcane Miasma spreads, bringing back the ghosts of the past to rewrite the present." Ira's grip on her daggers tightened. She had faced many battles in the shadows, but this one felt different, a war against the very fabric of reality. Yet she knew that if they failed, the consequences would be dire indeed. With a heavy heart and a sense of foreboding, Ira Shadowleaf nodded. "Let us go then." Thane's smile grew wider, his eyes glinting with an unholy light. And together, the unlikely duo ventured into the depths of Silverpine Forest, bound for the sunken ruins and the secrets they held. The darkness swallowed them whole as Ira and Thane descended into the depths of Silverpine Forest. The air grew thick with an unnatural silence, punctuated only by the soft crunch of leaves beneath their feet. Ira's eyes scanned the surroundings, her senses on high alert for any sign of danger. Thane, however, seemed completely at ease, his gaze fixed on the path ahead as if he could see the very route they needed to take. As they walked, the forest grew denser, the trees twisting and gnawing into grotesque shapes that seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers. Ira felt a shiver run down her spine as she noticed the silence was not just a lack of noise, it was as if the very forest itself was holding its breath in anticipation. "Thane, what's going on?" Ira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why is the forest so still?" The Renegade Forsaken Alchemist chuckled, his eyes glinting with an unholy light. "Oh, the Silverpine Forest has always been a place of dark magic and ancient secrets. The trees themselves seem to be absorbing the Arcane Miasma, drawing it deeper into the earth." Ira's grip on her daggers tightened as she struggled to keep pace with Thane's long strides. "And what about the whispers in the wind? You said something about the sleeping dead being awakened." Thane nodded, his smile growing wider. "Yes, the Arcane Miasma is calling forth the echoes of the past, the very essence of the forgotten Highborne magic. The whispers you hear are the minds of the dead, trying to communicate with the living." Ira's eyes narrowed. She had faced many foes in her centuries-long life, but this felt different, a war against the very fabric of reality. Yet she knew that if they failed, the consequences would be dire indeed. As they walked, the forest began to shift and change around them. Trees seemed to grow taller, their branches tangling together like skeletal fingers. The air grew colder, and Ira could feel the weight of the Arcane Miasma bearing down upon her. She knew that if they didn't find a way to seal the breach, the very fabric of reality would unravel. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Thane stopped in his tracks, his eyes fixed on some unseen point ahead. Ira followed his gaze, her heart pounding in anticipation. Before them lay a massive stone entrance, overgrown with vines and moss. The air around it seemed to ripple and distort, as if reality itself was warping to accommodate the ancient structure. "This is it," Thane whispered, his voice like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "The sunken ruins of the Highborne vault the source of the Arcane Miasma." Ira drew her daggers, her senses on high alert. She knew that whatever lay within those ruins would be a test of their combined strength and cunning. Thane's eyes glinted with an unholy light as he turned to face Ira. "Shall we see what secrets the vault holds?" With a heavy heart and a sense of foreboding, Ira nodded. She knew that they had no choice but to venture forth into the unknown, for the fate of reality itself hung in the balance. Together, the unlikely duo stepped forward, their footsteps echoing through the forest as they delved into the depths of the sunken ruins, bound for the secrets and dangers that lay within. As they entered the ancient vault, Ira's senses were immediately overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the structure. The air was thick with the scent of decay and neglect, and the walls seemed to press in on her from all sides. Thane, however, moved with an unnerving ease, his eyes fixed on some invisible path ahead. Ira followed closely behind, her daggers at the ready. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, and the silence was oppressive enough to crush her lungs. The only sound was a soft echo of their footsteps off the stone walls, like a death knell warning them away. Thane halted abruptly, his gaze fixed on some point ahead. Ira followed his line of sight, her heart skipping a beat as she took in the sight before them. A massive chamber stretched out, its walls lined with ancient artifacts and relics that seemed to hold secrets of their own. The air was heavy with the scent of old parchment and forgotten knowledge. Ira's fingers itched to explore the shelves, to uncover the secrets hidden within the dusty tomes. But Thane was already moving forward, his eyes fixed on a large stone pedestal at the far end of the chamber. As they approached, Ira saw that the pedestal held a small, ornate box adorned with intricate runes. The air seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy emanating from it. Thane reached out a hand, hesitated for a moment, then opened the box. The puff of misty smoke wafted out, carrying with it the whispers of ancient knowledge. Ira's ears rang as she strained to make out the words. Thane listened intently, his eyes glazing over as he absorbed the secrets contained within. When the mist had cleared, Thane turned to her, his face pale and drawn. "The Arcane Miasma," he whispered. "It's a manifestation of the ancient Highborne magic. They used it to bind the spirits of the dead, trapping them in a state of suspended animation." Ira's grip on her daggers tightened. "What do you mean?" Thane's eyes took on an unnatural glow. "The miasma is drawing energy from the living, using it to resurrect the dead. The more it grows, the stronger its hold will become. We have to find a way to stop it." Ira felt a cold dread creeping up her spine. She knew that they couldn't defeat the Arcane Miasma alone, not without risking their own sanity and lives. Thane's gaze seemed to bore into hers, as if he could see the very thoughts racing through her mind. "We'll need to find the source of the magic," he said. "The heart of the Highborne vault." Ira nodded, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She knew that they were walking into the very jaws of darkness itself. But she also knew that they had no choice. Together, they ventured deeper into the ancient ruins, driven by a desperate need to stop the Arcane Miasma and restore balance to the world. The secrets within the vault waited for them, but at what cost? As they delved deeper into the ruins, Ira couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the ancient stone beneath their feet made her tense up, expecting an undead echo to materialize before them. Thane seemed equally on edge, his eyes darting between the crumbling structures and the treacherous mist that swirled around them. "This is it," Thane whispered, his voice barely audible over the sound of dripping water. "The vault should be just ahead." Ira's grip on her daggers tightened as she scanned their surroundings. The air was heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten history. She spotted faint symbols etched into the walls, pulsing with a faint blue light that seemed to match the rhythm of Thane's breathing. Thane led the way, his eyes fixed on the symbols. Ira followed closely behind, her senses on high alert for any sign of danger. As they approached the vault, the air grew thick with an eerie energy, making it hard to draw a steady breath. The entrance to the vault was a massive stone door adorned with intricate carvings of elven runes. Thane examined the symbols, his brow furrowed in concentration. "These are wards," he muttered. "They are designed to keep the miasma contained." Ira raised an eyebrow. "You think you can bypass them?" Thane's gaze flickered to hers. "I've studied the ancient Highborne texts. I think I can decipher the wards and disable them long enough for us to access the vault." With a deep breath, Thane began to manipulate the runes, his fingers tracing the intricate patterns with an uncanny precision. The air seemed to vibrate in response, as if the very fabric of reality was being manipulated. I watched, fascinated, as the words began to glow with a soft blue light. The energy emanating from them made her skin tingle, but Thane's concentration remained unwavering. Slowly but surely, the symbols faded, allowing the door to creak open with an ominous screech. Thane stepped forward, his eyes locked on the darkness within. "The miasma is growing stronger," he warned. "We need to move quickly." Ira followed him into the vault, her heart pounding in her chest. The air inside was stale and heavy with the scent of decay. Shelves lined the walls, filled with dusty artifacts and ancient tomes bound in black leather. At the far end of the vault, a massive crystal pedestal rose from the stone floor, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Thane's gaze fixed on it, his eyes burning with intensity. "This is the source of the miasma," he whispered. "The heart of the Highborne magic." Ira's grip on her daggers tightened as she approached the pedestal. The air around them seemed to grow colder, as if the very essence of death itself was coalescing before them. Thane reached out a trembling hand, his eyes locked on the crystal. "We need to destroy it," he whispered. "But I'm not sure we can." Ira felt a cold dread creeping up her spine. She knew that they were walking into the very jaws of darkness itself. But she also knew that they had no choice. What's going to happen if we don't stop this? Ira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thane's gaze flickered to hers, his eyes burning with intensity. The arcane miasma will continue to grow, he whispered. It will draw the energy from the living, resurrecting more and more echoes. The world will be rewritten by the dead, and will be trapped in a never-ending cycle of death and rebirth. Ira felt a cold sweat breaking out on her brow. She knew that they had to stop this, no matter the cost. But as she looked at Thane, she saw something in his eyes that gave her pause. A glimmer of desperation, a hint of madness, and a deep-seated fear of what lay ahead. Ira realized that Thane was not just trying to save the world, he was trying to save himself from the darkness that lurked within him. With a heavy heart, Ira knew that she had to make a choice. She could stand by Thane's side and risk being consumed by the very evil they were trying to defeat, or she could abandon him and try to stop the miasma on her own. The fate of the world hung in the balance, and Ira was forced to confront the ultimate question: what would she sacrifice to save it? As they ventured deeper into the submerged Highborne vault, the air grew thick with the weight of ancient secrets. The sound of dripping water and creaking stone echoed through the corridors, punctuated by the soft hum of magical energy. Ira led the way, her night elf senses on high alert as she navigated the treacherous passageways. Thane followed closely behind, his eyes scanning the walls for any sign of hidden traps or secrets. The arcane miasma hung heavy in the air, making it difficult for him to focus. "This is it," Ira whispered, stopping at a massive stone door adorned with intricate carvings. "The breach is on the other side." Thane's eyes narrowed as he examined the door. "This looks like a puzzle box. We need to figure out how to open it without triggering any traps." Ira surveyed the area, her gaze lingering on the strange symbols etched into the walls. She reached out the hand, and Thane hesitated before allowing her to touch the stone. As soon as her skin made contact with the ancient rock, the air around them began to shimmer. The symbols on the wall started to glow, and the sound of whispering voices filled their ears. "What's happening?" Thane asked, his voice laced with concern. "The miasma is reacting to my presence," Ira replied, her eyes fixed on the door. "I think I can use it to our advantage." With a flicker of insight, Ira grasped the symbols on the wall and manipulated them into a specific pattern. The stone door creaked open, revealing a chamber filled with ancient artifacts and treasures. Thane's eyes widened as he took in the sight before him. "This is incredible. I've never seen anything like it." Ira nodded, her gaze sweeping the room. "We need to find the source of the breach and seal it before we can deal with the rest of this treasure trove." As they ventured deeper into the chamber, Thane's fingers trailed over the ancient relics, his touch reverent and almost tender. Ira watched him, a mix of curiosity and concern swirling within her. What was driving Thane's actions? Was he motivated by a desire to stop the miasma or something else entirely? The farther they delved into the vault, the more Ira realized that she was walking a fine line between light and darkness. Thane's desperation and fear were palpable, but so was his determination. As they reached the heart of the chamber, a glowing crystal pulsed with energy, surrounded by a halo of ethereal light. The source of the breach lay before them, its power coursing through the air like a living thing. Thane's eyes locked onto the crystal, and for a moment Ira saw something in his gaze that gave her pause a glimmer of madness, a hint of obsession, and a deep-seated fear of what lay ahead. With a heavy heart, Ira knew that she had to make a choice. She could stand by Thane's side and risk being consumed by the very evil they were trying to defeat, or she could abandon him and try to stop the miasma on her own. The fate of the world hung in the balance, and Ira was forced to confront the ultimate question: what would she sacrifice to save it? Chapter 6. Ira's eyes narrowed as she gazed at Thane, her mind racing with the implications of the discovery. The glowing crystal pulsed with anotherworldly energy, and she could feel its power coursing through the air like a living thing. She knew that they had to be careful, for one wrong move could unleash the full fury of the miasma. "What do you plan to do now?" Ira asked, her voice measured. Thane's eyes never left the crystal. "We need to seal the breach," he said, his tone devoid of emotion. "But I think we should be careful. This thing, it's unlike anything I've seen before." Ira nodded, her grip on her sword tightening. She knew that Thane was right, they had to approach this situation with caution. But she also knew that they couldn't afford to waste any more time. "Let's get to work," she said, her voice firm. Thane didn't respond, his gaze still fixed on the crystal. Ira felt the shiver run down her spine as she realized that he was lost in thought, his mind consumed by some dark and twisted vision. Without another word, Thane stepped forward, his eyes burning with an unnatural intensity. Ira followed him, her sword at the ready. As they approached the crystal, she could feel its power growing stronger, like a living thing awakening from a long slumber. Thane reached out, his hand trembling as he touched the crystal. The air around them seemed to distort, like ripples on a pond. Ira felt a strange sensation, as if her very soul was being pulled apart and put back together again. And then everything went white. When Ira's vision cleared, she found herself standing in a realm unlike anything she had ever seen. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the sky seemed to be pulsing with power. Thane stood beside her, his eyes aglow with an unnatural light. "What? What is this place? Ira stammered. Thane's gaze never wavered. The realm of the ancients, he said, his voice slow and hypnotic. A world beyond our own, where the secrets of the past lie hidden. Ira felt a shiver run down her spine as she gazed upon the strange landscape. She knew that they had to be careful. This place seemed to be alive, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Thane took her hand, his touch cold and clammy. We have to find a way back, he said, his eyes burning with an unnatural intensity. But first, we have to unlock the secrets of this realm. Ira nodded, her heart heavy with foreboding. She knew that they had to be careful. The secrets of this realm could be deadly, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Thane was leading them deeper into darkness. As they ventured deeper into the realm, Ira felt a sense of unease growing within her. She knew that they were playing with forces beyond their control, and that one wrong move could unleash a power that would destroy everything in its path. But she also knew that they had to try for the sake of the world, and for their own sanity. And so, Ira followed Thane into the unknown, her heart heavy with foreboding. She knew that she was taking a risk, but she also knew that she couldn't turn back now. The fate of the world hung in the balance, as she was forced to confront the ultimate question: what would she sacrifice to save it? As they delved deeper into the ancient realm, Ira's unease grew. The air thickened with a otherworldly energy, making her skin crawl. Thane seemed drawn to a power emanating from the land itself, his eyes burning with an unnatural intensity. They walked in silence for what felt like hours, the only sound the soft crunch of gravel beneath their feet. Ira's gaze darted between the twisted trees and the mist-shrouded ruins ahead. Fog had grown thicker, making it difficult to distinguish reality from illusion. Suddenly Thane stopped, his head cocked to one side. Wait, he whispered, his voice low and urgent. Do you feel that? Ira strained her senses, but all she detected was the clawing scent of decay. What is it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thane's eyes flashed with excitement. The arcane miasmas grow stronger, he said, his tone almost reverent. We're getting close to the source. As if on cue, the fog parted, revealing a massive stone door adorned with ancient runes. Thane approached it slowly, his hand extended as if reaching out to touch the symbols. Ira followed closely behind, her senses on high alert. The air seemed to vibrate with anticipation, making her skin tingle. What's going on? She asked again, her voice trembling slightly. Thane turned to her, his eyes aglow. We're at the entrance to the Highborne vault, he said, his tone filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The secrets we seek lie within. With that, Thane reached out and touched the runes. The air seemed to shudder in response, and the door creaked open, revealing a cavernous space filled with ancient artifacts and strange devices. Ira's eyes widened as she took in the sheer scale of the vault. Tombs and sarcophagi lined the walls, each one adorned with intricate carvings and symbols that seemed to pulse with life. At the far end of the room, a massive crystal orb sat atop a pedestal, emitting a soft hum. Thane stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the orb. That's the heart of the ancients, he whispered. The source of the Arcane Miasma. Ira's gaze darted around the vault, her mind reeling with the implications. This was the key to unlocking the secrets of the past. But as she looked at Thane, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Thane's eyes had changed, they now burned with an unnatural intensity, as if he were being drawn into the orb's power. Ira felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized the true Thane was no longer in control. The Arcane Miasma was consuming him, drawing him deeper into its power. And unless they acted fast, it would consume them both. Without hesitation, Ira reached out and grabbed Thane's arm, trying to snap him back to reality. Thane, stop, she shouted, her voice echoing off the stone walls. But Thane was beyond hearing. His eyes fixed on the orb, he began to chant in a language that sent shivers down Ira's spine. The air seemed to thicken around them, as if the very fabric of reality was bending to accommodate the ancient power. Ira knew they had to act fast or risk being consumed by the same forces that had destroyed the world once before. She dug deep within herself, calling upon every ounce of strength and cunning she possessed. And then, with a fierce determination, she lunged forward, determined to save Thane from himself, and the secrets that lay hidden in the ancient vault. Ira's hands closed around Thane's arm like a vice, her grip desperate as she tried to yank him back into reality. The orb seemed to glow brighter, its hum growing louder as if feeding off their struggle. Thane's chanting grew more intense, his eyes burning with an otherworldly energy. Ira's mind raced, searching for a way to break the trance-like state that had taken hold of her former ally. She knew she couldn't reason with him, he was no longer in control. The Arcane Miasma had claimed him as its own, drawing him deeper into its power. With a surge of adrenaline, Ira wrenched Thane's arm hard to the side, using every ounce of strength to snap him out of his trance-like state. Thane stumbled, his eyes flickering wildly as he regained consciousness. As he blinked away, the haste, confusion, and disorientation gave way to dawning realization and horror. His gaze locked onto Ira, then the orb, before finally settling on the vault's walls. The ancient structures seemed to loom closer, their stony faces twisting into grotesque grins as if mocking him. Ira. What? Thane's voice trailed off, his words faltering as he struggled to comprehend the situation. It's too late, Ira said grimly, her grip still firm on his arm. You're gone. The Arcane Miasma has taken you. Thane's eyes widened in a mixture of fear and despair as he stared at the orb. He seemed to understand finally that he had lost control. We have to get out of here, Ira urged, her voice firm but urgent. Now. With a Herculean effort, Thane shook off his trance-like state and turned to face Ira. His eyes burned with a mix of determination and desperation as he nodded. Together, they backed away from the orb, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls as they desperately sought escape from the ancient vault's grasp. The air seemed to thicken further, as if reality itself was bending to accommodate the struggles against the Arcane Miasma. As they turned to flee, Ira caught a glimpse of the vault's entrance and what lay beyond. A sea of swirling fog stretched out before them, its edges churning with an otherworldly energy. Fog seemed to pulse in rhythm with the hum of the orb, as if drawing them closer. No, Ira whispered, her heart sinking at the realization that their escape would be short-lived. We can't go that way. Thane's gaze followed hers, and his eyes widened in horror. They knew they were trapped caught between the ancient vault secrets and the ever-expanding fog of the Arcane Miasma. With a deep breath, Ira steeled herself for the challenge ahead. She couldn't let Thanes come to the orb's power, nor could she allow their mission to fail. As one, they turned back toward the heart of the vault, ready to face whatever lay hidden within its ancient depths. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper into the sunken ruins. Ira's eyes scanned the crumbling structures, her mind racing with strategies for navigating this treacherous environment. Fog seemed to seep into their very souls, as if the secrets hidden beneath the waves were calling out to them. Thane moved beside her, his steps hesitant and uncertain as he struggled to regain his footing. Ira's grip on his arm tightened, a silent reassurance that she was there and would not let him fall. As they delved deeper into the vault, the air grew thick with anticipation. The secrets hidden beneath the waves stirred, sensing their presence. Fog pulsed stronger, as if drawing them closer to the very heart of the ancient structure. Ira's determination hardened into resolve. They had come too far to turn back now. With Thane by his side and the secrets of the past within reach, she steeled herself for the challenges that lay ahead. For in this ancient, submerged world, only one thing was certain: their mission would not end until they uncovered the truth hidden beneath the waves. As they descended deeper into the vault, the air grew heavier with an otherworldly energy. Ira's senses tingled with every step, as if the ancient structure itself was awakening to their presence. The fog swirled around them, tendrils curling like ethereal fingers, beckoning them closer. Thane's eyes darted nervously between Ira and the darkening surroundings. His grip on her arm tightened, a silent plea for reassurance. She squeezed his hand in response, her gaze fixed on the crumbling walls as they navigated the treacherous path. The silence was oppressive, punctuated only by the sound of dripping water and the creaking of ancient stone. Ira's instinct screamed at her to be cautious, but a part of her was drawn to the secrets hidden beneath the waves. The fog seemed to seep into their very souls, as if the ancient Highborne had left behind a piece of themselves in this forsaken place. As they turned a corner, a faint glow caught Ira's attention. The light emanated from a series of ornate, crystal pillars, which rose like sentinels from the darkness. The air seemed to vibrate with an intense, pulsing energy, as if the crystals were channeling some ancient power. Thane stumbled forward, his eyes fixed on the crystals. Ira followed closely behind, her heart pounding in anticipation. They reached the first pillar, and Thane hesitated, his hand extended toward the crystal as if drawn to its essence. Ira's grip on his arm tightened once more. "Wait," she whispered urgently. "Let me examine this first." Thane nodded, his eyes never leaving the crystal. Ira cautiously approached the pillar, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings etched into its surface. The symbols seemed to pulse with a faint blue light, as if they were imbued with some ancient power. Suddenly, the air around them began to distort, like ripples on a pond surface. A low hum filled the air, growing louder and more intense. Ira recognized the sound. It was the same resonance she had detected in the orbs, only this time it seemed to emanate from the crystals themselves. The fog swirled around them once more, tendrils curling like fingers as if beckoning them closer. The air grew colder still, the energy building towards some unknown climax. Ira's grip on Thane's arm tightened, her mind racing with strategies for navigating this treacherous environment. Thane's eyes locked onto hers, his face illuminated by an unnatural glow. "What is this?" he whispered urgently, his voice barely audible above the hum. Ira's gaze never wavered from the crystals. "I'm not sure," she replied, her voice low and steady. "But I think we're on the verge of uncovering something significant." The air seemed to coalesce around them, the energy building towards some unknown event. Ira's instinct screamed at her to be cautious, but a part of her was drawn to the secrets hidden beneath the waves. As one, they took their first step into the heart of the ancient vault, ready to face whatever lay hidden within its depths. The water's surface rippled and churned, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn asunder. Thane and Ira stepped forward, their feet sinking into the silt-covered floor as they entered the submerged vault. The air grew thick with an otherworldly energy, making it hard to breathe. The crystals, now aglow with an intense blue light, seemed to pulse and sync with their footsteps. Ira's hand remained firmly grasped around Thane's arm, her eyes scanning the dark waters for any signs of movement or hidden dangers. The fog had begun to dissipate, replaced by a faintly luminescent mist that clung to their skin like a damp shroud. As they ventured deeper into the vault, the walls began to take shape, ancient stone blocks covered in faded murals and intricate carvings. The air was heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten history. Thane's eyes widened as he took in the scale of the structure, his mind reeling from the implications. "This place is incredible," he breathed, his voice hushed in awe. "The ancient Highborne must have built this as a symbol of their power." Ira nodded, her gaze fixed on the symbols etched into the walls. "These markings, they are unlike anything I've seen before. They might hold the key to sealing the breach." Thane's eyes narrowed, his grip on Ira's hand tightening. "We need to move quickly. If we can find the source of the Arcane Miasma and seal it, we might be able to stop this, whatever is happening, from getting out of control." As they rounded a corner, a massive stone door came into view adorned with a symbol that seemed to mirror the pulsing crystals on their hands. Ira's eyes locked onto the design, her mind racing. "This is it," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum. "The heart of the vault. Whatever we're looking for has got to be inside." Thane's face was set in a determined expression. "Let's get moving, then. We don't have much time before this place collapses or something worse happens." With a shared glance, they pushed forward, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls as they approached the ancient door. The air grew colder still, the energy building towards some unknown climax. As they reached the entrance, the symbol on the door began to glow with an intense, pulsing light. Ira's hand tightened around Thane's arm, her heart racing in anticipation. "This is it," she whispered again, her voice laced with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Whatever secrets lie within, we're about to uncover them." With a deep breath, they pushed the door open, stepping into the unknown depths of the ancient vault. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and another worldly energy seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. Thane's eyes scanned the dark interior, his gaze falling upon rows of ancient shelves, each lined with dusty artifacts and relics. Ira's attention was drawn to a large, ornate pedestal at the far end of the room upon which rested a crystal orb that pulsed with an intense blue light. The air seemed to thicken, as if the very fabric of reality was being pulled apart. Thane and Ira exchanged a knowing glance, their hearts pounding in unison. "We're close," Ira whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum. "I can feel it." With a shared nod, they began their descent into the heart of the ancient vault, ready to face whatever secrets lay hidden within its depths and prepared to confront the darkness that lurked at the edge of their reality. As they ventured deeper into the vault, the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy. Thane's eyes darted from one ancient relic to the next, his trained alchemist's mind racing to comprehend the significance of each artifact. Ira, meanwhile, remained focused on the crystal orb at the far end of the room, her night elf senses attuned to its pulsing blue light. The pair moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls as they navigated the treacherous terrain. The scent of decay clung to the mica shroud, weighing heavily upon their spirits. Suddenly, Thane halted, his gaze fixed on a peculiar artifact perched atop a nearby shelf. It was an ancient tome bound in black leather, adorned with strange runes that seemed to shift and writhe like living serpents. "This book," Thane whispered, his voice slow and urgent. It's not of this world." Ira followed his gaze, her eyes widening as she took in the tome's dark majesty. A shiver coursed through her, as if the very fabric of reality was trembling in response to their presence. Thane reached out a tentative hand, hesitating for a moment before gingerly opening the cover. The pages within were yellowed and worn, but the words scrawled upon them seemed to pulse with an unnatural light. "Ira, look at this," Thane breathed, his voice barely audible above the creaking of the ancient leather. Ira drew closer, her eyes scanning the pages as if searching for some hidden truth. As she read, a faint look of comprehension crossed her features, replaced by a growing sense of unease. "This is it," Ira whispered, her voice heavy with conviction. "This is the source of the Arcane Miasma and our only hope to stop its spread." Thane's eyes met hers, his expression grim. "We have to destroy this book. If we can't, then the secrets within will forever change the course of our world," Ira finished, her voice laced with a hint of desperation. With a shared nod, they set about searching the vault for any clues that might aid them in their quest. As they delved deeper into the ancient ruins, the air grew colder still, heavy with an unnatural energy that seemed to seep from every stone and artifact. Their search led them to a series of intricate murals depicting a long-forgotten battle between the ancient Highborne and the demonic forces of the Burning Legion. The images danced across the walls in shades of indigo and crimson, weaving a tale of catastrophic proportions. Thane's eyes narrowed as he studied the murals. "This is the key to stopping the Arcane Miasma. We have to find a way to sever the connection between the vault and the surface," Ira completed, her voice laced with determination. As they pored over the ancient artwork, the air seemed to thicken once more, as if the very fabric of reality was being stretched to its limits. Thane and Ira exchanged a knowing glance. They knew that time was running out, and their only hope lay in unlocking the secrets hidden within the ancient vault. With a shared nod, they set about deciphering the mural's cryptic messages, racing against the clock as the darkness spread across Silverpine Forest and toward Gilneas. As they continued to study the murals, Thane and Ira began to unravel the secrets hidden within the ancient artwork. The images depicted a desperate battle between the Highborne and the Burning Legion, with the former using powerful magic to hold back the demonic forces. However, as the battle raged on, it became clear that the Highborne were no match for the sheer numbers of their foes. Thane's eyes narrowed as he studied the murals further. This is the key to stopping the Arcane Miasma. We have to find a way to sever the connection between the vault and the surface. Ira nodded, her expression determined. We'll need to find a way to break the magical seals that are holding back the darkness. If we can do that, we might be able to stop the miasma from spreading further. As they poured over the murals, the air seemed to thicken once more, as if the very fabric of reality was being stretched to its limits. Thane and Ira exchanged a knowing glance. They knew that time was running out, and their only hope lay in unlocking the secrets hidden within the ancient vault. With a shared nod, they set about deciphering the mural's cryptic messages, racing against the clock as the darkness spread across Silverpine Forest and toward Gilneas. Thane's eyes scanned the mural, his mind racing with the implications of what he was seeing. The images depicted the desperate attempt to contain the dark magic that flowed from the vault. A series of intricate seals had been etched into the stone, each one pulsing with a faint, malevolent energy. We need to find a way to break these seals, Thane muttered, his voice barely audible over the sound of his own heartbeat. Ira nodded, her gaze fixed intently on the mural. I think I see something. There's a pattern here, a series of ancient runes that seem to be tied to the seals. Thane's eyes narrowed as he studied the runes. They seemed to be some sort of magical cipher, requiring a deep understanding of the arcane arts to decipher. Ira, can you? Thane began, but his companion was already nodding, her fingers flying across the stone as she transcribed the runes onto a nearby surface. The air in the chamber seemed to grow heavier, as if the very weight of centuries-old magic was bearing down upon them. Thane's eyes flicked between Ira and the mural, his mind racing with the implications of what they were about to attempt. The first seal, a complex pattern of interlocking circles, required a precise sequence of arcane gestures to break. Thane watched in awe as Ira's hands moved with a fluid precision, her fingers weaving intricate patterns through the air as she spoke ancient incantations under her breath. As the final gesture was completed, the seal began to glow with a soft blue light. The energy emanating from it seemed to surge and build, until suddenly, the stone cracked and shattered, releasing a burst of dark magic into the air. Thane felt the darkness wash over him like a cold, black tide. He raised his hand, calling upon the light of the emerald dream to push back against the encroaching shadows. Ira's eyes locked onto his, her own gaze burning with an inner fire. We need to move quickly, she warned, her voice low and urgent. The more seals we break, the greater the risk of unleashing something terrible. Thane nodded, his mind racing with the implications. They had to be careful. One misstep could have disastrous consequences. As they worked their way through the remaining seals, the air in the chamber grew thick with tension. The darkness seemed to grow more malevolent, as if it were aware of their attempts to undo its hold on the world. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last seal shattered, releasing a burst of pure energy into the air. Thane felt the power course through him, the sensation both exhilarating and terrifying. The chamber began to glow with a soft, white light, as if the very fabric of reality was beginning to repair itself. The darkness receded, banished by the combined might of their determination and arcane prowess. Thane turned to Ira, his eyes locking onto hers in a moment of shared triumph. We did it, he breathed, the words barely audible over the sound of his own heartbeat. Ira's gaze was distant, her expression unreadable. We've stopped the miasma from spreading. For now, she corrected, her voice laced with a hint of uncertainty. Thane's eyes narrowed, his mind racing with the implications. They had delayed the inevitable, but at what cost? The darkness would return, and next time, they might not be so lucky.